March 10th, 2012, we're here in beautiful sunny Columbus, Montana on a Saturday to kick off a conference on Fire Safe Montana's Preparedness and Readiness program for residents and firefighters in the area. We should have a good day with good speakers and lots of very interested residents.
We'll come back and Allyson will come up here and share with you she'll share with you an unbelievable story of a family tragedy that occurred in Southern California, San Diego County, October 26th, on a Sunday of all days of the week, when her family was put under siege by a 57-mile-an-hour Santa Ana wind-driven fire, the Paradise Fire, that caused unbelievable havoc for Allyson Roach and her family. And God bless you, Allyson, for coming up here and sharing this message with us about looking forward. How can we learn from your family's tragic lessons to put ourselves and our families and our homes on a much more even keel to keep ourselves out of harm's way? So that's what we're going to do for this next little bit. First half of the afternoon, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, Ed, Bob, and Allyson. And we're looking forward to sharing our message with all of you.
Due at the end of July. So I like to think of him as our little miracle because I'm very, very lucky to be here, which means he's also very, very lucky to be here. I'm going to stick to cards because if I don't, then I go on these little random tangents and I start talking about the sky and Lord knows what else. So, well, before I get started, I would like to say that I know that video is really, really hard to watch, believe me. I mean, I had my Kleenex in the back. I have a really hard time watching that as well, as you guys can imagine, but you have to understand that the reason we do that is because, you know, I believe that with an optimistic mind, we can turn this tragedy into something positive. And that's what we really need to pay attention to. If we take the lessons to heart that we are learning today, and we realize that this can happen to anybody for any reason, we can help people become more mindful of the unpredictability of fires. Through these lessons learned, we can work together to help save lives, and that is why we should be here today. The whole point of that staff ride is to listen, to look, and to analyze. I didn't have the fortunate opportunity of a staff ride, you know, before the fires or during the fires, but I did have an entire first year where I went through, I lost count how many surgeries, 30-something, I don't know. And I spent that time, you know, physical therapy, massage therapy. By the way, massage therapy, awesome stuff. But I had a lot of time to think, as you guys can imagine. And I spent a lot of time analyzing the series of events from that day. And I learned a few things that I'd like to share with you. First, no one, and I mean no one, is completely prepared for any kind of disaster. Earlier today, you heard Russ discussing the concerns of the mountain pine beetle. I want to make you guys understand that San Diego County, before 2003 wildfires, also had an outbreak of the mountain pine beetle up on Palomar Mountain. It wiped out more than half the trees on that beautiful mountain. And in 2003, during the fires, that entire mountain was bare. It was completely burned through. Lost my track again. So it was thought that the mountain pine beetle was one of the direct causes of such devastation as the 2003 and yet 2007 San Diego wildfires, 4 years apart. 4 years apart. Just imagine how well our environment up here, or your environment, I'm sorry. I'm starting to think of this place as home now. But this environment here is just as prone to that fire as San Diego was in 2003 because of that mountain pine beetle, because of the weather. I mean, right now, I was told that it was supposed to be snowy and wet outside. I mean, what the heck? Your backyards are set up for the same kind of tragedy. It happened to San Diego twice in 4 years. It's happened before. It will happen again. My second lesson learned was having a better understanding of our human nature. We all think we know how we're going to react in a terrifying situation such as that. Some fight, some flight, you know, that fight or flight syndrome. You tend to think that your minds will be in some kind of control of themselves. But what you aren't aware of is that visualization can actually put your bodies into a state of shock. And whether you like it or not, you're not going to be able to control that ability unless you've actually been exposed to it, trained in that environment. So you may not react the way you always expected you would. Valid reason for that. If you feel like there is any remote possibility that that fire is 5 miles away, go. There's no reason to wait. It may be a devastating loss to lose your home. It's not worth your life. It's not worth your family's lives. It's not worth any loss of life. You know, and also think about this. When you stay behind and you put yourselves in that kind of danger, when the firefighters come to try and get you out, you're putting them in danger because that's a dangerous situation to be in the first place. It's not worth your life, as I said. It is not worth the lives of your loved ones to stay behind and fight what is almost impossible to control. Our family had no intentions of staying behind. We were not going to stay and defend. We left as soon as the evacuation order was given. But just think, if we had left the night before when we first found out the fire was 5 miles from our home, and it was down on the Rincon Indian Reservation about 5 to 7 miles away, if we had left the night before, my sister might still be here. Our family thought we had every hole plugged. We felt confident that the authorities and the firefighters that we had spent time working on these plans with would have had enough time to give us an adequate warning. 30 miles. I am sitting on the couch and I'm watching the TV. Is it time? I'm calling my brother. Is it close yet? Allison, you're fine. Stop. You're fine. It's 30 miles away. It's not. Are you sure? Then it's fine. Aside from being prepared to evacuate, I don't ever leave home without letting my husband know how much I love him. I always hug and kiss my loved ones. Okay, maybe not Jason, brother-sister thing. Cooties. But he knows how much I love him, and I tell him that every day. Our relationship is just as strong now as it was 20 years ago, and that will never change. I may have survived one of the worst wildfires in Southern California's history, merely through the grace of God. And for that, I pray daily for the extra days He's given me. And I do all of these things every day because today could be my last day. I know that's a little bit morbid to think, but who knows what's going to happen tomorrow? That's why we prepare. Don't take things for granted. That is my fourth lesson. Don't take your safety for granted. And here's a good example. Most of us take our fingers for granted. How many people here don't even think twice about picking up a paper on the floor, picking up a coin, writing, driving, getting dressed? We think nothing of these things. But to me, I have to work extra hard to do any of that. And most of the time I can't. I have to have my husband tie my, well, I don't know, these don't have laces, these are slip-ons, but, shoelaces, buttons, things like that I can't do on my own. That nothing tragic is ever going to happen. It's likely that you will know that you will not face tragedy. But are you willing to take that chance? And that's one of the reasons, again, that we are here today. So that you don't take your safety for granted. So that you will think and prepare for a time when that safety is being threatened. When your family is being threatened. I was given a true gift that day. I was given a second chance at life. I was given the opportunity to learn from our family's past mistakes and prevent them from happening again, or at least trying to. I was also given the opportunity and the privilege to speak to others through my family's story about preparing for disasters. Unfortunately, this gift did come at a terrible price. A price that I'm hoping to vindicate to the best of my ability. by helping to prevent future tragedies. I would very much like to ask you guys to help me make my sister's death worth something. Don't let this tragedy happen to you. Don't let it happen to those around you. Take to heart what we are here for today and prepare for the wildfire that will come. Thank you guys.